I have a feeling there's something in your story that is already shaping the business that you're building. Maybe that something has even made you think, you know what? One day I want to write about this. One day I want to turn this into something that helps other people. And if you've been marinating on this idea, this episode might be the little gentle kick in the pants that you actually need to start doing it. Because your story is your biggest testimony. And other people may have lived through something similar, and the way you walk through it is going to be exactly what they need. Other people might even be part of the story. So if you've been afraid to share your story because other people are involved, you gotta listen to that part of the interview because it is your story at the end of the day. Your experience, your perspective, what you learn, and what you can create from it. And today's guest is doing exactly that. So today I'm sitting down with Jessica Kirk. She's a digital marketing expert. She has a background in PR, social media, and she's an incredible storyteller who suddenly found herself being the center of the story. Used to tell stories of clients, of other brands. Suddenly she was like, you know what? Let me take my story and share it and use my story to reach and help other people. So after going through a tough divorce, heartbreak, and the loss of the future she thought she was going to have, she took that experience and turned it into a book about healing, about hope, about helping other women navigate their own version of that experience. And that's what I love about today's conversation. And we didn't just talk about what happened to her, we talked about what do you do with the story afterward. She shared how she decided what was hers to tell, even where other people were involved, how she's even handling the pressure and the fear of what others are going to say by her being so bold and telling her story and turning a deeply personal experience into something that is going to serve someone else. I just know it. How she approached actually writing the book. And if you've been wondering how the self-publishing industry works, don't worry, she's got you. She shares about how she thinks about the whole process right now. Her book is called Pretty Girls Don't Gatekeep. At the time of this recording, is available on Amazon. And if you have any interest in writing, self-publishing a book yourself, you can just go follow Jess on Instagram because the marketing campaign she's building around this is something you're gonna want to watch, especially when you have so many things going on. Like you are a busy business owner, she's a busy woman, and still she's being super creative and resourceful. So just go watch her and go ask her all your questions. Okay, let's get into it. Hello, my love. Welcome to Brand Confidence for Creatives. Are you feeling stuck in a cycle of overthinking, trying to build your brand? I'm Eugenia, but you can call me E. I'm a marketing and brand coach, and I spent years stuck in the cycle of researching, hesitating, and hiding until I got clear on my voice and my message. In this podcast, I'll guide you through the strategies you need to get clear on what you want to say, build a personal brand, and create consistent magnetic marketing. If you ever thought, I know I have something to say, I just don't know how to say it, you are in the right place. So grab your coffee and let's dive in. Jess, I'm so happy that you are here. You spent your career in PR, thinking about what other people communicate publicly, social media, all the things. And then you went through something incredibly personal, and you're going to tell us what it was. But now you've become the story. And now you are the one telling your own story, which I find super interesting. And you've turned part of that experience into a book. So when did something you were living privately become something you thought like, hey, you know what? I actually want to talk about this publicly.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity to speak about my life, which really goes into what I'm doing, because previously I was very much behind the scenes. I would be the writer and not the actual focal point. So actually getting in front of my own story has been interesting. Not something I expected. It actually came from a place of I was very ashamed of what I was going through. I felt like I was alone. I didn't want to talk about it to anybody. I felt like if anybody knew that my life wasn't perfect, they wouldn't accept me. It was this huge wave of feeling that I couldn't be open about myself. Once I got through that, I realized I ended up, it was almost like a crack that I shared my life, what was going on actually publicly, thinking it would just be this weight off my own shoulders. But really, what happened, what I've noticed is how many people reached out to me and was like, wow, I'm going through the same thing. I feel what you're feeling because I'm currently feeling it. I understand myself better through you, and realizing that maybe my purpose wasn't, or my pain wasn't about me at all. It was about helping others throughout their own pain. So I felt just this pull and this need to show other people that, hey, we're all human. We're all going through this human life experience together. And let's be honest about it, because being all filtered up and polished isn't helping anybody. No one's buying it. And I think
Yeah.
we can really help each other by showing each other, yeah, I went through something, but I also got out of something, and you can too. I'm not special. You have more power inside of yourself than you even know.
Was it okay? So to get into people are like, okay, tell me juice. And when I met you, you were married and
Yes,
you're currently not. And
correct.
what people think, there's this belief that people just think about divorce as if it was like returning a blouse at Zara. Like, oh, it just didn't fit. Bye bye. And actually, it is not. It is of such a like so many things to get over in your mind to get to that point. So I obviously don't want to get into the details you don't want to get into, but I would like to know how that process wasn't like affecting the identity that you had up to that point and rebuilding it moving forward.
Yeah. So to fully understand, I have to bring you back to when I gave my life to Jesus, because I was actually going through a heartbreak at that time. And I fully dove in and I said, God, everything I have is now yours. And I really dove into that, and I honed in and started to going to church. I decided not to date for a full year, as because I really wanted to devote my time to God, and I started to travel and volunteer and really just give everything I have for his glory. So throughout that process, after the year ended, I ended up meeting my ex-husband at church. And from then it just was very, it was easy. It felt like this was God's plan. It felt like God provided me this life. This was his doing, and it could be. I'm not here to say that that's not the plan, but I decided to just do all the steps. We went through premarital counseling prior to getting married because I wanted to be God centered. We didn't have sex until we got married. God centered. He wasn't even allowed inside of my apartment. So, just to fast forward, it did end up unraveling into divorce, which really brought a lot of shame to myself because I felt like that wasn't going to be my story. Divorce isn't going to be something that I do. My life is God centered, and that's just not something that God wants for me. So when it did end up happening for me, it was a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of feeling like that how could this happen in my life? This isn't possible. But really, a marriage takes two to tangle, and as much as you want and hope and control something to happen, sometimes things are just out of your control. So that's where what happened in my journey, and I realized that going forward, that I needed to let go of control, and I believe that's what God was teaching me. I was just grasping at straws, and there came a point that I stumbled upon some texts and I saw some patterns happening, and I felt like, okay, God, I need to give this over to you. And since then, I've been on this crazy journey. I dropped everything I had identified to my home, my belongings, everything that I could really say is me, my career. And I booked a one-way flight to New York. And with two suitcases, I decided to start over. And yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Wow. Wow. And I love it because I think that we go through one major crisis sometimes in life, maybe another, and then we find that solution and we think, okay, this crisis is my before and after moment. And then something else happens and we have another before and after moment. And I find it fascinating that you at some point decided to start sharing, and you did it from a place of, let me invite you into my story to see if this helps. At least that was my perspective as I
Yeah,
reread.
correct.
Not necessarily let me talk and do therapy online, which maybe that works for some people. But to me, it just felt like a person who was healing privately and wanted to share not from a wound but from a scar publicly. So I'm curious, how was that process for you?
Yeah. So I actually went through a lot of therapy when I was dealing with my own emotional turmoil, if you want us to say it like that. And what really helped me, because again, I was so internal, I wasn't externally talking about it to really anybody. I was gravitating to group therapy where women felt like they were going through the same thing, or I was going through TikToks of women saying, "Hey, I got a divorce. This is what I felt." So having that relatability is really what kept me sane. I don't know if that's the right verbiage,
Right.
but it really helped me get going. And ideally, or essentially, when I started the book, I wanted to do it during that process that I was really down in the deep end, and I could barely get out of bed. I felt like this is my time to let women be empowered. I realize now, going looking back, I
Yeah.
just wasn't in a place that I was able to have a lifeline when I was drowning. So now that I do feel like I'm finally in a place that I'm I I don't know if healing is the right word, because I feel like we're constantly in a process of healing, but I do feel healed from it enough to be able to talk about it and be able to hold someone's hand and say, "Hey, you know what? This sucks." And I'm not going to tell you that it doesn't, because it does, but I'm here for you. I'm here to listen. I'm here to just be somebody that is in your corner.
You mentioned that you did therapy and all of these things. I'm curious about what were some of your favorite like resources or therapy or people or books that really helped you during that period? Or even decisions. I think decisions are overlooked as a resource as well.
Yeah, really everything. I dove into Jay Shetty was a huge uh, top podcasts that I listen to probably
Mm.
every single day. Um, there is also a mindset mentor podcast that I really gravitated to. I looked into a lot of research of emotional whatever I was feeling. It was in my Google inbox of how do I deal with this? What is happening? And then yeah, I went through BetterHelp. I went through a variety of different therapists, but BetterHelp I really enjoyed because they had not just your therapy session, but you had group therapy to go into. So I looked into anxiety group therapy. I looked into the divorce. I looked into grief. I really was just I don't know if I use that as a distraction or an understanding, but it helped me feel a little more sane in my what I was dealing with, because I do come from a long family of solid marriage, beautiful commitment. We everything from 10
Mm.
years to 50 plus years, and leaning on them was it was I'm grateful that I have somebody to lean on, but I didn't feel like they understood me because they don't know what having a broken heart is. They
No.
don't know what starting over looks like. I didn't feel like they related to me, so I needed somebody to show me what the seat already looked like
Mhm.
sat in. So yeah.
And And what was, because then you release a book. So what was there anything that you thought was missing? And I love that actually you're coming up with a book because you are very well in around it into like everything that comes or everything in the space. I'm not gonna say that you read every single resource, but you have emotional support and actually therapy and actual research, and then at the end you were like, hey, there's space here for something else. So what was that thing that you were like, oh, there's this perspective that's missing and I'm gonna put it in a book? Well, maybe this decision of putting in a book wasn't as straightforward, but it was, what was the thing that you were like, okay, there's these things missing?
Yeah, so writing a book is a really fun process, and writing it with my best friend has been who sat on the sidelines of my entire journey, has been such a cool experience. And the book, when we first started to today, completely two different manuscripts.
Mm,
When I first started, it was very here, this is what you can do. Here are the resources. Here are some journal prompts. Get going. And it wasn't, it was very vaguely about me and what happened. And I felt like that was safe to me. As long as nobody
mm.
knows what has happened to me, I'm okay. And so I had some voices to tell me, hey, Jess, I think it's important for people to know that you understand them and you have been there. So it definitely took back a lot of vulnerable layers that I've been trying to keep putting up. um, but yeah, so in the book, you'll find a little bit of me to share, not for my purposes of sharing in a therapeutic way, but I wanted people to know you're not alone. I've been through this. I have literally been on the bathroom floor at an airport, crying my eyes out,
Wow.
not knowing if I should get on the plane because I was so broken that I didn't know how to keep moving on. So I wanted to make sure people understood that I get it. And also don't just listen to my voice, listen to the research that I came up or the research that I gathered, the therapy. I have different tactics that different therapists have given me that have fully helped me develop how to release emotion that you don't even know that you are
Mm.
bearing. And we also added some journals in there because I don't want it to really be about me. I want it to be about the reader. I want to make sure they feel held. I want them to know that this is their space. This is where they're going to grow. This is their opportunity. And I'm just a resource that I want to help you throughout it.
This is so incredible to me because you put all these resources together and you were like, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. But then there was this missing piece of sharing why. And sometimes we discard that our why is actually the thing that could be the most healing for other people. So that that's a big choice. And I'm so happy you did because I agree. It is what really moves people to feel like you get them for real. W-
Yeah,
Were
definitely.
you
Uh-huh.
no, go ahead.
So I've noticed that throughout social media, I gave an opportunity. I was incredibly scared, but again, because I came from a place of hiding, I felt like I needed to get this off my chest because it was an elephant just weighing on me. It needed to come out. I needed people to know this my life has changed because they can see that I am clearly no longer posting about my relationship, which I was very actively posting online. And then
Mm.
all of a sudden, I'm living in New York and there's no relationship. So it felt like I needed to address the situation. It feels a little weird that I'm pretending like we're all good. And um, so I did end up doing a post about my divorce and what had happened. And I am, again, I just want to, I want to say it vaguely because I don't want to come off in any way that I think everything is a learning experience, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to experience life and see it on the other side. So I'll just leave it kind of at that. But when I did post what I did, I received an influx number of DMs of people saying, "Hey, I'm going through a divorce process. I haven't told anybody." And then I would hear stories of, wow, these people really feel like they can confide in me. And it'll be people I don't know or someone I haven't talked to since, I don't know, middle school. It made me realize that we're all dealing with something. And I think sometimes we just need to talk about it to somebody who doesn't even know us. And in that moment, it felt like, okay, this is something bigger than me. And I got to stop looking at myself about it and start
Mhm.
projecting it and helping others throughout it.
And it's true that it's you don't want to involve the other person, but at the end of the day, it's your story. So how, as you were writing this book, did you decide? And I think this is huge because a lot of this audience, they have gone through personal things that have shaped the way they work and what they do. But a lot of it is or involves other people. So there's always this desire to share, but then this
Yes.
protection or wanting to respect a boundary. So I think this is a consistent question. And how do you decide then with this personal experience what belongs to share publicly and what's going to stay private?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, it happened for me from a lunch that I had with a friend. Before, as I said, the book was very vague. I wanted to just be a resource, but not really throw myself into it. And I had lunch with a friend who, before he showed up, he asked me to listen to this podcast that he was on. And so I listened to the hour-long podcast, and he was talking about very personal relationship things that happened in his past. And he had just ended the relationship fairly new. And so I listened to the whole thing with my jaw just open and on the floor, like, wow, how can he be sharing all of this, knowing that this girl is going to be looking at it?
Mm.
So I showed up to lunch and I came with a whole notes app of questions of that. How are you not afraid that she's going to watch it? How are you not afraid of what she's going to tell you? And he looked me dead in the eye and he said, "Jess, this is my story too, and I am entitled to feel how I feel. I'm entitled to use my story that I was actively participating in however I want." And it really did put a perspective on me because I think as myself, and I've noticed maybe as a woman, we tend to want to cater to somebody else. And maybe in that process, we shed ourselves. So I think that's what was happening when I first felt the pain and the shame. I felt like this was my thing to carry when it wasn't. This is not my baggage to hold on to. So yeah, it took a friend to just tell me, "Hey, you know what? This happened to you, and you are allowed to feel how you feel, and you are allowed to narrate it how it came across for you."
That's so true that what you said about specifically for women. There's this book, I don't know if you've read it, Strangers by Bill Burton.
No.
And she talks about her divorce process, and it's a memoir. So she shares about how she was not financially set. I mean, she's a millionaire, so obviously she's financially set up. But in terms of the marriage assets, she didn't keep almost anything from the marriage assets.
Mhm.
And she spends the whole book sharing her experience with divorce, finding out her husband was having an affair and leaving her. And she, at the end, she narrates how she was afraid to publish her story as an essay, and she still did it. And she knew that people were not going to love it, everyone. And effectively, she says, as she published the essay, the comments were saying that she was just seeking attention, that
Mm.
she was vengeful, that she just wanted to affect this man's reputation. And she said it affected me, but at the end of the day, I feel like women needed to hear this story. Like, I had healed at this point, I was okay, but I felt that this story could help other women going through what I had. So did you experience something like that? Like the fear of, I don't want people to think that I'm trying to destroy his reputation or I'm trying to play the victim. It's just a story that needs to be shared.
Oh, 100%. That's so relatable, and I think that is the core of what I'm looking at, is I know when people read this, I'm gonna have negative backlash. I'm gonna have people saying, "You're seeking attention," or "You're a liar," or "You" whatever the case is. But yeah, I'm doing it. I'm putting myself completely vulnerably raw out there to get picked at just for maybe that one woman that feels recognized and seen, and showing her, "Hey, it's okay how you feel because I've felt it too." Ultimately, that's the goal of this whole thing.
That's so fascinating. And I want to kind of walk through your thought process of deciding to transform your experience into something for another person, because it's almost like it's not about you anymore. Like you become a character. And how, especially because, storytelling, how do you take that experience and put it in a format that is not about you anymore? I'm sure there are many pieces in that story that are not in the book. And I'm asking because I know that this is such a constant of, I want to turn my experiences into a book. I just
Mhm.
don't know how to say, how to tell it. I don't know how to release it. How do you go about that?
Yeah, I for me, the core has always been if I'm going to be open and I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to put myself on the line and all the narratives have come into my head. Every guy is going to look at me and think, oh, she's not past her past or undateable or she might write about me. I don't know. All of the fear is there and it hasn't gone away. And I've heard this thing you either lose the fear or you lose the opportunity. So that's something that I've been really sitting on. But for me, I didn't wanna make it a storyline about me. Again, there's so many variations through it. It's really the helping is what has been driving me towards, "Okay, I need to go push this out." Full transparency, this whole past week, I have had anxiety and, feeling just very nervous about having this book released because of potential backlash, but it's that one driving force is that woman who or maybe it's even a man who is feeling, I don't know how to wake up tomorrow morning, and somebody showed me that they got through it. They're better off for it, and, I could potentially be too.
I just want to encourage you because I think that it just says a lot that you are anxious and it is going to be potentially offensive to some people. And that's good because great art is offensive and great art brings conversation and I know it will have an impact. But something you've told me privately, it's not a private conversation, but you've told me off the air, I would say, is that you obviously have a big desire to help, but you are not attached to a sales number or you're not going to think of this. The success is not measured by units sold or by making it into a list. And I think it's important for someone who truly is driven by putting their story out there. And I would love to also hear your thought process in it.
Yeah, 100%. I am not this isn't a cash cow for me. I would be surprised if I get $2 from it. Initially, when I made it, I wanted to just donate it to women's shelters and any opportunity for a volunteer, so to speak. However, I sent it to my cousin's wife to just review it. Hey, can you look at this and see if it's what do you think? And the response I got back from her was so fascinating to me. She was overly blown away that I was like, "You're doing too much. It's not that great." But she was like, "Can I take this and share it with X, Y, and Z?" And she had a number of women that she already had on speed dial ready to go to send this off to, and she's like, "I think that they could really use it." And then she shared some of their story and told me, they're dealing with a lot of emotional baggage and this would really help them. So I spoke to my co-author and we talked about like maybe this is bigger than us and then maybe we should really think about it as again like a resource for a bigger audience and this is really why we're marketing it. Other than that, like I don't want anybody to read it that actually knows me. But I think there's a bigger purpose behind it than myself and just keeping true to that.
Wow, that is incredible. But wait, okay, so the marketing portion of it,
Mhm.
you have the marketing experience, right? So it's kind of hard to turn it off. So
Yes.
I have seen online some things where I'm like, "Oh, I like what you're doing. How are you thinking about it about this book and not letting it just come out to the world to no one to witness? How are you thinking about it since you have this storytelling background, telling stories, PR, social media, etc.
Yeah, I again, like you said, I can't turn it off, so it's just constantly how can I relate to people? And the whole book is about not being perfect, not really we don't know what we're doing, but we're doing it. And just having that core of showing peeling back the layers and showing people, "Hey, we're people too. Hey, I cry." It's just part of the human experience, and I want people to see that side of, social is all about, "Let me show you all my wins," but I think what people are really looking for are, "Okay, I don't have X, Y, and Z. Maybe I don't have the house yet, or I didn't get the job that I want. And I want to show people that neither do I.
Mhm.
And that's okay. I love my life. I'm really grateful for all the experiences that I've gotten. And it hasn't been easy, but that's okay. We're human. And I think that's the core behind it is just like, let's just be humans again. Let's take off all the glitter and show each other that we're all the same at the end of the day.
Oh, and what are some ideas? Because you are not launching with a 10 million follower. Like you're not a Kardashian launching a
Yeah.
book. So how are you thinking or planning that to get people to care about the idea without having hundreds and thousands of millions of followers and things that other people could still, if they are also wanting to write their book and launch the book, but they're concerned that they might not have 3 million followers to buy the book.
Um, so recently, I think it was last weekend, I went to a book event and it was located in this really beautiful bookstore. And so I
Mm.
looked around the store and every single book looked professional. It looked high quality. Everyone has these big publishing houses. And immediately I spiraled and I panicked and I texted my co-author and I was like, I just want to go home. I don't want to do this anymore. We don't fit in. Like we're just this small fish. Like, who do we think we are? This is a silly thing that we thought that we could do. And yeah, I sat with that and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to live in New York because a lot of people here are dreamers and they do come from just a small idea to big execution. So I had the opportunity to speak to one of my friends who he started a company 3 years ago. And I asked him actually yesterday, I was like, is it normal to hate, like go down this loop of hate, like what you're doing? Is it normal to question everything? Is it normal to wonder if you should keep going? And he said, absolutely. He shared an experience where he wasn't fully satisfied with the idea coming out of the production. He said it's really difficult when you have an idea and you see it come to life and it's not exactly what you wanted, but that's out of your control. And he said that he had to make a decision. I'm either going to stick to it and go for it, or that's you don't, and you either lose the fear or you lose the opportunity. And listening to his story and seeing where he's at 3 years later, and seeing his product all over the U.S. and seeing how you know dedicated and confident. That's what I gathered from him was like, you got to believe in the product even when you don't believe in the product, because if you don't, they won't. And it really gave me that confidence of like, that's what this is really about, is we're gonna we're gonna microanalyze our own work, and it's up to us to realize like, it's not that big of a deal. Again, we're all humans.
Mhm.
We're all just trying it. We don't know what we're really doing, but we either go for it or we don't.
And how are you creative about this? Do you think that anyone can be creative and then look at their what they have in front of them and just think outside of the box? Or do you think you, because of your location and your experience and being in New York, you're like, oh, definitely, maybe some people might not be able to promote this book or in a specific way?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Interesting, I was already thinking about the second book that I wanted to get going, and I asked somebody if if they were interested in partnering with me. It's about my sobriety journey. The person, hopefully he doesn't get mad at me, but it's about my dad. He, has been sober for 5 years. 6, I think. But it was interesting, immediately he said no. He said, "No,
Mm.
nobody wants to hear my story," and I feel like that's where we go wrong as humans. We all have a story. It's a purpose for everybody else but ourselves, and, to just block it out and say, "Nobody cares." That's such a false negative narrative that I think a lot of us are riding with, but, throughout this process, it shows me people kinda do care, and, they might not care about me, so to speak, what I'm doing every day, but they do care about feeling seen and feeling heard and understood, and I think we need to get out of that of, "I don't have the right resources," or "I don't have enough money," or "I'm not a Kardashian," and have that stop us. Just instead flip it and think like, okay, but what do I have? I have a story. Cool. Let's start there. Let's put it out there. I'm sure one person is going to read it and be like, okay, if they could do it, maybe I could do it too. And essentially, I think that's the goal of life, really.
Mm. I love it. And if you could talk to that version of yourself who had just found out about what happened before the move, the therapy, the rebuilding, like when you were like literally looking at that phone, what would you want that person, that version of yourself to know?
Oh my goodness. I have chills just thinking about her. I actually think about that girl, that woman, um, almost every day since I've been writing this, because I feel like this. I wrote it for her. When you're dealing with such shock and identity crisis and just a shift in your life that you didn't expect, it does something to you in ways that can't even I can't even start to speak about. But I think about her every day, and I think like,
Mm.
man, we needed that. That's I'm so grateful for that opportunity that turmoil happened, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I think I'm a completely different person internally.
Mm.
And I'm so grateful that that woman decided I'm going to keep going and I'm not going to let this destroy me. I going to just take it day by day. And I would hug her. I would say, it's going to suck. It's going to suck a lot, but thank you for doing that for me today.
I have the chills. I love it. Please tell us a little bit about the book, where people can find it.
Yeah, the book is called Pretty Girls Don't Gatekeep, currently now out on Amazon. We also, since I mentioned we are the small fish in a big pond, we're figuring it out, but we do have a vision to be in your local bookstore, libraries, hopefully bigger distributions throughout this time.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And listen, you can be ambitious. You can go and want to be in like Barnes and Noble and still say like, hey, you know what? I'm going with the flow. I'm taking it step by step. We don't have to be radical and choose either or.
Mhm.
And I recommend that people go follow you on Instagram because if you are building a brand just for the sake of copying Jessica, that's it. Go follow her. But also because it's the best way to actually connect with the person behind the story. So Jess, can you tell us where they can find you on Instagram or your socials?
Yeah, absolutely. Find me on Instagram at Jessica Kirk, JESSICA KIRK, and I would love to see you there.
Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you loved it, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to a friend who's also trying to grow their brand without losing themselves in the process. And if you want to make my day, drop a quick review on Apple Podcasts. Seriously, it means the world to me. And I know that this show is helping you show up with confidence and clarity. See you back here soon for the next episode. Un beso.